Yeah, fingers crossed.
Looks good.
Yeah, looks good. Yes,
Look
we
good.
are on YouTube now. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Worldscope Mundane Astrology discussion. Once a month, astrologers from all around the world who are interested in the social, political, climate change, conspiracy will all meet up here to talk about what's going on now. And believe it or not, last month was epic. Last month's discussion was really, really surprising everyone. I remember that to be honest, when the things happened on the next day, Saturday, I totally forget what we talked about. It was 2 weeks after when I tried to cut some paste to do advertising. Then I realized Leanne and I think all of us was talking about something about Trump going to happen something too. It's just like wow, Leanne really nailed it. But it's quite interesting. But I also want to say, I don't know you agree or not. We don't need to agree with each other. But I really love Deborah Holding writing on Facebook about calling it, call it. Are we really going to make a precise prediction about so and so going to happen, this and that? Who is going to become president maybe 4 years ago or 10,000 years ago to, yeah, Kamala Harris or Trump will become next president? I predicted 1,000 years ago. So it's very interesting. And like her idea, she say, this is also against free will. And when it comes to the mundane astrology, especially the election, there's lots of free will going on. So I really love this idea. So I want to, share her idea with everyone. So today we will have a little bit interesting beginning because since last month we say we're going to talk about Venezuela because what happened there is incredible. And then, well, don't laugh at me because I really don't know since when these riots happened until it's everywhere. And I said, wow, so dangerous. So if Marcus will be here, then we will talk about the riots. And then we will go to a little bit quick review about the United States election at this moment. And then we will quick look if we have time, Bangladesh, and so China. We have a whole all the corner going to cover. So let's invite Maria to start. So we have Maria going to start about the Venezuela.
Thank you, Rod. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. And because there is a lot of discussion about the chart, the correct chart of Venezuela, I'm going to use the ingresses, based on the capital city, which is Caracas. And I'm going to be looking at the Aries ingress especially, but also at the Cancer ingress, because the Aries ingress had a mutable sign rising, and because the elections, the presidential elections, took place during the period of the Cancer ingress. Okay, so let's begin. First of all, whenever I look at mundane charts, because I use traditional astrology, I like to look at the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction. This is something that I always do. And this is the one for Caracas. Caracas is the capital city of Venezuela. And you can see in this chart how both the sun and the moon are very angular. So this is showing something important going on for Venezuela. And keep in mind this, I'm not going to be talking about this today, but maybe next month, because there's an eclipse coming that is going to impact on this degree. Yes, the degree of the moon at the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction. So that is something to pay attention to. And whenever you see a Jupiter-Saturn conjunction, what this is telling us is that this is signaling the course in which humanity will behave or proceed. Okay, it takes place every 20 years. This one was especially important because there was a change in the sign, in the triplicity of the sign. And we're also going to have a look at ingresses and eclipses in this presentation. I'm only going to be looking at ingresses for this year. and especially the Aries and Cancer ingresses, which are especially significant. And when I say significant, what that means is that they overlap with this Jupiter-Saturn conjunction, bringing out the promise of that conjunction, the effects of that conjunction. Also, one of the things that we need to bear in mind is that at the conjunction, the strongest planet is Saturn. Okay, and it's a Saturn in Aquarius. So Saturn is stronger than Jupiter because this Saturn is in its own domicile and also in its own triplicity because this is a day chart. So it's a much stronger planet and it's going to rule over Jupiter. And Saturn in Aquarius is about technology, science, free-spirited reasoning, but also about freedom, okay? And this is especially important for Venezuela because the opposition in Venezuela could organize themselves through technology and social media. So that is typical of air signs. Okay. So what Ramsey tells us is that we need to pay attention to the sun entering Aries because that is a sort of solar return for the country, okay? And this is the Aries ingress for Venezuela. You can see how, of course, the 10th house is going to be the government. The 4th house is going to be the opposition to the government. You see a woman there. This is a Venus that is exalted, that is leader Maria Corina Machado, who has been fighting the government for almost 20 years, but she was banned. She wasn't allowed to present to be a candidate, a presidential candidate. So she chose an older guy, and you can see that in the ingress as well because you can see Saturn there. I thought that was really amazing. Both planets in the house of the opposition. But this woman is very, very strong in this chart. Okay. So, okay, there you have the guy who was elected president. He's called Urrutia, González Urrutia. And what happened was that the two previous elections were rigged. And this time, what Maria Corina Machado and her team did is they found a way of being able to count the votes at the same time as the Consejo, the government council that was in charge of that. Okay, so they have the real results. And those results give this guy, Urrutia, it proclaims him as a winner for more than 60% of the votes. So this is the first in Venezuela. Okay. So is this ingress significant for Venezuela? If you have a look at the Aries ingress and you overlap it with the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction, you can see how the ascendant of the ingress is very near the Venus of the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction, showing us that a woman is going to be super important. Also, the Neptune of the ingress is on the moon. The moon represents, together with the ascendant and its ruler, the people, okay? So this could tell us that maybe the people are being victimized. Okay, so this is the chart for Urrutia. I'm not going to pay too much attention to the cusps because I have an hour of well, I don't have a rodent rating AA, okay? But you can see how the sun of Urrutia, González Urrutia, falls on the midheaven for the ingress, okay? So that is typical of a person who's going to become president of that country when the ingress falls on a year where there are presidential elections, okay? If you have a look at the Aries ingress and Maria Corina Machado's chart, you can see how her Venus falls on the midheaven for the ingress. And her natal moon falls on the ascendant of the ingress, which is quite impressive, quite impressive. So Maduro's the president, the one that is holding power right now, and you can see that his Uranus is on the midheaven of the Aries Ingress, which is a different story from having the sun on the midheaven of the Aries Ingress, okay? Okay, if we have a look at the Cancer Ingress for Venezuela, what we see is that the leadership, the government is really afflicted because you can see that it's ruled by a Mercury that is combust and in the 8th house. So that is telling us that this rulership is losing power. And if you look at the opposition, you can see how it's represented by a planet in its exile or detriment, because they were not, the government says that this is not true, that they lost, but they haven't been able to show the official results of the elections. But you can see how they are angular, so that gives them strength, and they're also receiving the support of foreign countries, okay? Good. For instance, the U.S. has recognized González Urrutia as the elected president of Venezuela, together with many, many countries such as Peru. Peru was the first country in Latin America to give Venezuela, to recognize González Urrutia as the president. Argentina was, I think, the second or third. So he's getting support not from all the countries. For instance, there are countries in Latin America who still haven't made up their minds because they need to see the official results. But many, many countries are acknowledging González Urrutia as the winner. Okay, there you go at the Cancer Ingress. Again, the Cancer Ingress has the first degrees of a Sag rising, as did the Aries Ingress. So again, González Urrutia's sun falls on the midheaven. Okay. And again, the same happens with Maria Corina. Her Venus falls again on the midheaven because the angles haven't changed much between the Aries Ingress and the Cancer Ingress. Okay, so there's going to be an eclipse. I think this eclipse is going to be super important. The eclipse is going to take place almost in the same degree as the moon of the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction. So I'm really interested in looking at that eclipse. I think that eclipse is not going to be good for Maria Corina Machado. You can see how the sun falls on her Uranus. We don't have the exact, I am an astrologer in Venezuela gave me this time for her birth chart, but it's not a Rodin rating AA. But you can see how the eclipse falls right on her Uranus and her Chiron. So if we look at the ingress for Libra in Caracas, this is not good news for Maria Corina Machado. We see a woman who's powerful. Venus is in its sign of domicile, but it's about to change into the sign of fall, and it's in the 12th of either prison or having to move into exile. And the opposition also loses power. You can see how the opposition is represented by this Saturn that is retrograde and peregrine. So I think that she will probably need to leave Venezuela or either go to prison. I didn't find this in English, so I'm going to read it to you. The government has opened an investigation on both Corina Machado and González Urrutia, and they say that they might go to prison because they have asked the military to stop supporting Maduro, the guy who's in government right now. Okay, so that is what I wanted to share with you. Okay, this is the last, my last.
Thank you, Maria, for that very clear and very, inspiring way to look at. And yes, it's true that Aries in Greece and, the cardinal in Greek charts are always very powerful and very significant. And I really adore your method to approach the candidates data, especially you mentioned, where they from, and also is that trustworthy or not? Because sometimes I will see people just, oh, this is the chart, and we're just like, wait a minute, where are the source and what's the rating? And sometimes we can use noon chart, but we have to mention that's the noon chart so people will not mistake it. And now, Anna, are you ready?
I just want to make
Yeah,
a small
of course,
point.
yes.
Because I looked at the Ingress chart also for the U.S., but that one has a fixed ascendant for
Yes.
Washington. So that's one valid for the whole year.
Yes.
I didn't
Yes.
remember to look at the Ingress chart for England to see if it's valid for how long. But maybe we can do that and get this theme of Ingress charts going.
Yes.
You can use also, I'm sorry, Deborah Holding has just, opened up in SkyScript a whole section on Mundane, and she has the Ingress charts of many countries, not all of them, but many, many countries, but the UK.
I was looking at the election, which we will address, and just to make a point, because you said this is mutable, and we are talking for an audience that might not be as current as ours, that when we do the US, if we do the Ingress chart, it is in a fixed sign. The ascendant is in a fixed sign. So that's it for the year.
Yes, indeed. Yes. Well, soon, I think I think it's in November, we are planning a conference like last year. Last year was a big success. So, and I dedicate this year, we are all going to talk about focus on Mundane. Okay. So I already confirmed we have a Hakan going to give us a workshop about the election. And then also a few different astrologers will join us. So just let you know, you are welcome to bring some interesting topic and to share. So Anna, are you ready? I'm going to rescue Mark because I just get message from him. Mark, don't worry, I'm coming. I'm sending you email. Anna, you're mute.
Should I start now or should we wait for Mark?
Yes, please.
Okay, going in the... Let me know if you see it, please.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, so again with Venezuela, which is very, very, how can I tell you? I think that it shocks all the region because we love this country and we want to see another future. Well, I will start saying that Venezuela during the last year has been a lot of people that went outside. I think it's around 8 million of the population, and the country that has more Venezuelans immigrants is Colombia, around almost 3 millions, and the second one is Peru, 1.5 million. So imagine that if in this survey, if Maduro stays in the power, around 40% of the population would leave, which means that there would be a migration wave again, and for sure these figures will increase. So as Peruvians, we are in expectation about that situation because we have to prepare for that. It is not only a matter of it's not a domestic problem, it is the problem for the whole region. Okay, so going back to the Aries Ingress for Venezuela, we know that in this particular year we have the Moon in Leo in opposition to Pluto, and with a participation of the Sun. So we can see here in the history that if we were to represent, we have the Moon in Leo, Maria Corina Machado, Pluto with Nicolás Maduro, and the Sun with Edmundo. But the curious thing is when I add asteroids, I have Pluto and Venezuela together, the Sun with the asteroid Edmund representing the candidate here, and Nicole representing Nicolás Maduro in conjunction with Corina in the sign of Cancer, fighting for the population. So it is curious that those asteroids are confirming maybe the tendency of given by another techniques. So it's very interesting how this deal with that. We have the asteroid Caracas as well here in opposition to Edmundo. And another one that I escaped. Okay, I will leave it here because it is like the asteroids or other way to see things are accompanying this tendency. So we have here the chart of the moment. The inner wheel belongs to the moment when Maduro speaks as president. Not the moment that the commission said declares official president. I took the time in which Maduro opens his mouth and begins to talk. And I cast the chart, and what is outside the outer wheel is a draconic chart for that event. Well, we can see here that the moon in the chart is in 2732 of Taurus, close to Uranus. And here we have Venus. It seems to be a prominent woman or somebody there, which is in contact with Mercury, draconic Mercury. Okay, the moon of this event chart is the sun of Delcy Rodriguez, which is the Minister of Economy and former international relationship minister. So, and she's very known because she's very straightforward when she talks, and she defends the system, not only with Maduro, but also with Chavez. So she is beginning to appear now again in the spot of Venezuela, talking about the election, the position, etc. So this moon, at the moment when Maduro speaks, is the son of this woman. Probably she will be present in this period when it lasts. But the other thing that I want to highlight is that this moon is in contact with draconic Mars. So I think there will be a more convulsion or more other things happening. But the moon, the draconic moon and Uranus together are very close to the descendant and in sextile with Saturn, the Saturn of this chart. So what I observe here is that the fifth house for me, apart from the typical meanings about education, children, theater, etc., for me is the crisis of the government. And the fact of being Saturn there and Neptune there could be that this government may not last forever, may not last, or something may happen. And as this Saturn has to do with the speech of the reality, we will do this, we will do that, what is behind is Neptune. So the conflict with the real and the unreal together. Something, a combination, what is unreal and real may have consequences to this period, to this government. And the contact of this moon and Uranus sextile this Saturn, probably the neighbor countries, I mean, all the neighborhood around Venezuela, that those are recognized and they don't recognize who was the winner, may have something to do with that. I think there will be a lot of convulsion in this area with countries that will support and won't support, or something may happen around it. So I think that more things will come up. Of course, Pluto in the third house are all the problems in the streets. And well, nothing more to add here. When I observe the chart of Nicolás Maduro, we observe here the following. He has the moon and Caracas together. The moon and Caracas together. It's what I will continue then. And the transit in Caracas was in 13 of Libra with his Lilith. The sun of Maria Corina Machado is 13 of Libra. The Neptune of Edmundo González is 13 of Libra, and transit in Caracas in 13 of Libra. The four of them in one same degree. No, that was, well, okay. So I will continue because my surprise comes again. But the transit in Venezuela is in opposition with Mars. And the Venezuela asteroid in the chart of Maduro is in 20 of Virgo. So what I recall is that, of course, Pluto is knocking the door of the South Node. But what I recall is that the upcoming full moon, which, by the way, is my birthday, this Venus will be close to that degree. So I decide to cast the chart with the transits of that date. So this is the full moon, in that moment. What I observe here is that the moon and Venezuela will be together it will be together, very close to the cusp of the A house. And the transit in Caracas asteroid will be in the bottom, exactly with the IC. And Venus getting closer to Venezuela. So I don't know, there could be something shocking or something, some news about Maduro or this election. And this Mars-Jupiter make a great trine with Caracas and with Venezuela. So maybe there are probably good news, but I think that the story won't end here. As I follow to the day of the inauguration, January of the next year, what happens here is the following, is that Venus, transiting Venus and Venezuela are together. Venus exalted with Venezuela in contact with Chiron of Maduro. And here Lilith is at the bottom of the chart, very close to this area as well. And transiting Caracas is in contact with Mars and Uranus with Venezuela. I don't want to declare one position, but I think that something may happen at that time. But let's continue because I want to show you more. This is the chart of Maria Corina Machado, but at the time of the inauguration day. So in her chart, she has Caracas here in the first degree of Capricorn, trine with her Lilith and trine with her Venus. And for sure, she behaves like a Venus, she behaves like a Lilith in Caracas because she's a very, very strong woman, very strong one. And at the moment of the inauguration, this Venus Venezuela thing will be in opposition with her Venezuela and in square with the moon. That can vary because I don't have the exact time. That moment, the transit to Caracas will be with her Mars and Mercury with Caracas. It is that there are some tensions, maybe not a good position, but some tension. And for Edmundo González Urrutia, he has Moon and Venezuela together. And Venus at that time will be over Caracas. And there is another great trine here. And again, this Venus Venezuela in opposition to his Sun. So maybe there will be good news, bad news, but I don't think that will be strong enough. Something like that. That is something that is still passing by. When I have the chart of Venezuela, pay attention to this because look, the asteroid Edmond in Leo, in very close to the midheaven, and Corina 10 degrees away. And the Nicholas is here, and the sun of that day will be over Nicholas. So, and Venezuela, the Venezuela asteroid in the chart of Venezuela is very close to the ascendant and close to Mars, but in the transiting moon and Uranus will be over there. So I think that they will be complicated. Probably it will follow, they want to follow the plan, but I think they will be complicated or other things will happen as this in the transitive moment, the asteroid Nicola and Cori are together, are still together in Virgo, counting boats, counting things, details, etc. But the South Node will be visiting. So I think maybe that this confrontation will end, but despite of the inauguration day. It means maybe the inauguration day may happen, but not necessarily will be the end of the story. And another thing that I want to pay attention that I forgot to mention is the vertex. In the Aries Ingress, what I did here, sorry if I go back again because I forgot to mention, which is important, is that the vertex here is in the second degree of Virgo, which is parallel practically to the ICMC, MCIC, sorry, axis, which can give us an idea that maybe something unexpected will happen. Something unexpected will happen. And when we see the chart, by the way, the two of Virgo is the Venus of Corina Machado, and in the vertex of the country is upside down. So the vertex of the Aries Ingress is the anti-vertex of the vertex of Venezuela. So again, it's parallel. So I won't lose track about the birthday because it gives surprises, for good or for bad, but surprises at the end. So I think that in this moment, maybe he could be taking the power formally, but not necessarily mean that it will last forever. I think there were many things going on there. And let's take into consideration that the day of the elections for Venezuela, the sun was in the fifth degree of Leo, and Mars will be over there. So Mars will make a direct contact, and then will be retrograde and then direct. But during these 2 dates, the inauguration day will start. So I won't take anything for granted because surprises, for sure, surprises will come up so far in these upcoming months. So thank you.
Thank you, Anna. As usual, fantastic. I think Luisa has some comment to make.
Yes, the chart of Venezuela that you presented has Mars on the ascendant. I wonder what is going to be the position. You have thoughts of the position of the army in the middle of all this?
That could be interesting, but I have the sensation that something will happen inside. That the help is coming. I think that when I see this chart, I don't see that Edmundo and Corina has to do anything. They are intact.
Okay.
They have did the best they could. They don't have to do anything. And something will happen coming from another source in an unexpected way with the vertex operating there. And it could be something inside.
Could that be the military?
It could be the military or another section that is hidden. In fact, there are some military efforts to put order in Venezuela. I don't remember the name, the Tren Llanero. There is a force that is inviting to put an end to this story. Okay. And the other thing that supports my position or my theory is when I observe this chart, because is that there are no secret enemies. Everybody's enemy of everybody. It is that it's clear who is enemy of the other. So the seventh house is very active, and the presence of this Moon and Aries and Mars here is a combination about the population with some military forces and some external association, etc. So that's why I've observed that the position of this minister, Delcy, would be crucial because Venus is the ruler of Taurus in this house. So maybe she will try to calm down or talk. She will be the voice. But I think that everything is set up for something. I think that the upcoming months, other forces will come up. Other forces will come up.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Anna. Wow, thanks, Anna and Maria's beautiful presentation and showing us how does the chart work and how we're going to, doing the forecasting. And at this moment, I know for a lot of things, like especially like Mars going to retrograde in the end of this year and move backward forward, and also at this moment we have Mercury retrograde. There's a lot of things that we cannot take for granted, especially, we also have this U.S. presidential election. Well, Mark just turns up. Hello, Mark. Nice to see you.
Sorry I'm late.
Yeah, and so I will invite Mark to lead us to talk about the UK riot. Mark say he has a lot of research, and I say I'm worried now because he said more than he does than the U.S. presidential election. We all know how Mark's work on the presidential election. Now he said more than that. I was just like, wow. Okay, Mark, let me make you co-host.
Okay. Yeah, I do read a lot of American news, yeah, but that's just background knowledge. Okay, let's go. Where's the riot one? Let's find it going. Where's it going? Find the VP one. Sorry.
Don't worry. Yeah,
Right.
okay. While Mark
Yeah.
trying to find is fire. Oh yes, here we are. I think was one thing before Mark start. For last time when we were in the meeting, I think we did talk about far right, especially with the Lees and Lee, and we remember talking about the far right things, and that we didn't expecting things that happen right in UK. We just talk about the far right and the election, and that was very interesting, especially I think one of us mentioned about that brutal Uranus strike, and that really drew my attention. So, Mark.
Okay, well, I don't know how much people internationally have been following what's been going on in the UK, but obviously it's been a pretty crazy time for the last sort of over 10 days. We had these shocking outbreak of these riots, which I think very much ties into the Mars and Gemini kind of theme in terms of the fact it's probably the first social media riots we've certainly seen in this country that seem to have been led a lot by social media influencers and people speculating and with false information a lot of the time going on with this Mercury. Was it stationed or retrograde at the time when it started? I'll have to look again. Anyway, so these happened all over England, particularly these events unfolded, particularly in the north of England, although there was events in London too, and in Northern Ireland as well. There was some events too, but it was particularly in northern parts of England, and they were extremely violent. Very much focused on anti-immigration. It's been said far right, and certainly some of the people that were certainly agitating on social media were neo-fascists, probably, or something like that anyway. And many of the activists, certainly some of the activists were, although not all of them, I think some of them hadn't got any background politically at all. But there was a lot of, anti-immigrant attacks. Basically, attacks took place all over the place which was orchestrated again on social media. People were like targeting asylum immigration centers. There was attacks on just anything where anyone from outside the UK was identified, like food banks. There was attacks on, and then just general, just communities, just burning cars, burning a library. Citizens Advice Bureau was burned in Sunderland. I'm not sure if that was a direct thing. It might have been. And even like intimidation of potentially trying to get lists. Some of them were trying to get lists of lawyers that were actually involved in immigration advice, so they could presumably intimidate them. And also, of course, these weren't just demonstrations; these were riots and they're physically threatening to people in mosques, for example. The Muslim community was definitely targeted. The initial start, I probably should go back to the beginning. I'm not saying this was any rational explanation for it, but the thing that seems to have been the spark was obviously the Southport stabbing incident that happened on the 29th of July. I'll put the chart up for that in a minute, actually. Might as well put that up now. This was the original incident, and it was a horrible incident. 3 young girls, both all aged under 10, were killed in this. Was it a dance studio? It was a Taylor Swift type thing they were doing. It was just horrible, as you can imagine. They were killed, but very, very quickly after this incident happened, the social media started to speculate that basically this is where the influences were obviously having an effect. That it was an asylum seeker who'd come in on a boat to the UK. And this is all tying into a whole thing, because you can say that actually even government policy has been trying to crack down on people coming across the channel by boat. Rishi Sunak had a policy of stop the boats, and it was a big thing, and send people to Rwanda. That was another thing. Ironically, the young man that seems to have been involved in this wasn't an asylum seeker. He actually had been born in the UK. It seems originally his parents were from Rwanda. It's kind of ironic in a bizarre kind of way, but not in any way what was being speculated. But by that time, the genie had been let out of the bottle, and it just took on crazy dimensions. The whole thing, as I say, destruction of all kinds of buildings and threats against people in their communities. And it started obviously in Southport very quickly, not long after the next day. There was large sort of rioting and intimidating groups gathering around various areas, and the mosque was certainly had to be protected by the police. The police obviously got attacked as well, and there was lots of attacks on the police and assaults on the police. Keir Starmer, who is the British Prime Minister, I'll talk about later, has actually got quite a law and order background. He was actually the head of the Crime Prosecution Service in England for a number of years, and that's actually how he became a Sir, Keir Starmer. It was his work there. So he took quite a, he quite called it for what it was, right-wing thuggery, and they've been very efficient, even though we don't seem to have enough prison places. They've managed to make emergency powers to basically get these people up in front of judges and basically sentenced as quickly as possible. There's been about 500 people already sentenced, but there's a lot more to go. So anyway, so it's horrible, it's horrific. I mean, the good thing was, the only good thing coming out of this was probably Wednesday. There was quite a lot of solidarity marches by people coming out in much larger numbers than obviously the rioters, to say that they completely disassociated with all this horrific activity, and they had, they identified with a multicultural society and didn't want anything to do with these thugs, basically, these people that had just come and basically destroyed their own communities in some ways, or in some cases traveling though to other parts of the country to get involved in these riots, by linking up on social media. Anyway, enough background before we get to the astrology. So clearly I was intrigued to see if there's anything astrologically going on here, as you would be. So there's a chart for the stabbings. I mean, obviously we have, that's just an event chart. Obviously the South Node on the ascendant. We had the moon very close to Uranus in the chart. And obviously we're not that far apart from the Mars-Uranus conjunction going on here. But I was actually more interested in something that's a theme. And sometimes in astrology, when you see a theme repeated, it just goes on and on. Well, this one was almost endless. Every chart I looked at, maybe I've just become a monomaniac. Every chart I looked at seemed to have a Ceres theme in it. It's just incredible. So this is just a start. I mean, right now, we've obviously got a transit going on. We've got Ceres is squaring the nodal axis generally everywhere. So that's nothing unique, but it's picking up in a lot of UK charts. So if we go on to look at some of the specific charts, here's the well-popular 1801 chart for the UK in terms of what was happening. And obviously we can see the moon, for example, is conjunct Ceres in that chart exactly, and when the event happened. But perhaps more significant longer term, we've got Ceres itself is on the IC of the 1801 chart, and it's also very close to the sun of the IG of the 1801 chart as well. So Ceres, going back to these themes about, nationhood in terms of the mother, we think about it obviously, but obviously about roots, identity, who you are. And this whole thing is just sort of thrown up, the whole thing about what is it to be British, what is it to be living in the UK, and competing ideas of what is British identity, whether it's multicultural or whether you have to be blood and soil British going back to 1066 or whatever it is, English. Interesting, there was no riots in Scotland yet, I'm glad to say. We haven't had anything going on here. So it's been England, a little bit in Wales, some in Northern Ireland, but primarily in England. Anyway, so that was quite interesting. Again, the nodes are prominent, quite close to the South Node again, coming up here in the actual 1801 chart as well. So that was notable. Another chart to look at, if I can move on. Let's see. Oops, have I frozen here? No. Hang on. Sorry. Right. I looked at the lunar return. I thought that would be a good one to look at. This is the lunar return of the 1801 chart. And very appropriately, Mars has turned up, just as you might expect, on Q, on the MC of the chart. So that's obviously quite appropriate. And again, I know I'm going to sound like a monomaniac here, but we're Ceres opposing the sun of the chart in the lunar return chart before the events took place. So again, it's there in that kind of in that chart there, which was very close to being a new moon, obviously. Anyway. And we've got what else? Yeah, that was the main thing I think I wanted to go on about. I've got a lot of charts, so I won't dwell too long on any particular one. Where else are we going? Right. Sorry, next chart. I'm having trouble navigating. Can you see these? Are these large enough, these charts? I'm not sure I've made them full view.
It's okay. It's okay. Up to you.
Okay, I was trying to make them full view. Okay.
And I say yes.
Right, so there's my other favorite chart. I actually like the 1927 chart for the UK. I don't think it's used enough. I think it's a very powerful chart as well for the UK, because this is a modern chart when actually the UK, after the Irish Republic had left in 1922, but Britain carried on and it just ignored the fact that Ireland was no longer part of the UK, or most of Ireland wasn't part of the UK anyway, and the 26 counties. But then they suddenly woke up and thought, we better create an act to redefine who we are then. So this is the act that actually defined the modern United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland on the 12th of April, 1927 by statute. Okay, so anyway, Mars turning up here on Q again, opposing the ascendant. You see in this chart, in this 1927 chart, oh no, sorry, I've not got to the transit, sorry. I'll be getting there. Yes, I have, yeah. So in this chart, it's a bit different. It's obviously got a Sagittarius rising, which is quite different in feel, if you like, from the well-known Libra rising chart for the UK. But I think it gives something of the quality of the more modern Britain mixed in with the fact we've still got Saturn there, which, you know, Britain tying into its traditions and its backgrounds, very much the monarchy and all the rest of it, and all this steeped in tradition and history, still very important, but still there. The moon in Leo. We've actually had very many famous British prime ministers have had the moon in Leo, like Churchill, Thatcher, less successfully perhaps Gordon Brown, but you know, very various people. And obviously women have taken a very prominent role in Britain. We've had the Queen, of course, who passed away recently, but we've obviously had 3 British prime ministers as well who've been women as well. Anyway, so that's kind of that chart a little bit. But oh, just one last thing is it's got the Libra MC. So although it's not got a Libra rising, it's a Libra MC, which is a kind of quite close to the 1801 chart ascendant. And a lot of our leaders have had prominent Libra in their chart. So another push for the chart. So anyway, we've got Mars in the chart. And again, we've got what have we got here? Try to remember, see what we've got. Missed it now. Trying to find it. Yeah, Mars just opposing Saturn in the chart, which is obviously pretty obvious, but it's a pretty nasty, it's a pretty difficult transit for the country to go through. Obviously, it happens fairly often. We don't always have mass riots, but it's a pretty difficult one to go through in terms of what's been going on. So there's that, and we've also got Neptune pretty close to the UK Uranus as well, conjunct as well. So it's still retrograde, but it's very close to the Uranus. That Uranus is quite in the 1927 chart. Yeah, it was quite prominent. I noticed in the Brexit vote when actually I think, oh yeah, when basically this I think in that chart was it? No, the solar return, the transiting Uranus was on the sun in the Brexit vote. I'm getting mixed up prior to the Brexit vote. Anyway, I digress. Sorry, I'm getting off the point. Okay, we've obviously got the MC quite close to Pluto. Other stuff, I haven't really looked at it. We've obviously got the Moon and Uranus connected as well, and Saturn retrograde, obviously on the Jupiter. This ties into other themes in the UK. We have a government coming in that didn't promise that was going on about economic growth before they came in, but now they're saying, no, actually, they've looked at the books and we're going to have austerity cuts all over the place. So, you know, there's a lot of that going on as well. And it's not adding exactly to a buoyant national mood, I think, for a lot of people who are feeling pretty out of sorts. Not that that justifies the riots, of course. Right. And again, lunar return for this chart. What do we have going on here? Let's see if I can remember what I had up here. Yeah. Well, we've got Neptune, obviously quite close. No, I haven't. Sorry, I'm talking rubbish. We've got the moon on the IC. Sorry, that was quite close to the IC. That's kind of there in the lunar return. That was probably one theme, and then there was what else? Can't remember what else. Why I put this one up? I had other reasons. Probably got some series connection if I can find it. No, I'll just leave that one. I can't remember what I was doing with that one. Okay, so just to say, to cover all charts, to give them all a look in here so they don't feel left out. We've got to have the chart for England as well. So let's do the popular 1066 chart. This is a chart for the coronation of William I, William the Conqueror, in 1066. So in this chart, we've obviously got Saturn pretty close to the south node. We've got Neptune going over the moon of the chart, which is adding to that sense of just unrealistic kind of false kind of social media culture that's been going on through all that. And the yeah, that's definitely happening there. And good old Ceres just is there again on the sun of the 1066 chart. So I don't know if it's just me, but maybe I'm just becoming obsessed. But I just see Ceres everywhere in these charts now. I'm looking at them. It seems to be just there. So it's again raising a question about what it is to be English, to be British, identity issues, and homeland and all the rest of it. I mean, there are other themes we could go with apart from the riots, obviously, what's going on. But it's obviously going to be going on for quite a bit. This, I think, that was at the time of the Southport riots, obviously, the Southport stabbing. Sorry. So that's that, and yeah. So I'm just going to keep going because I've got quite a few other charts. And again, another thing, some people have suggested we should have an alternative UK chart for when Britain left the European Union. It's changed everything. It's thrown out all our European connections and we've gone off independent. I'm not sure I'd go that far, but I think that's maybe a bit over the top. But it is interesting that Pluto is, guess what, transiting Ceres in that chart from when we left the European Union. So yeah. So if you just got, I've only got one planet I'm using in this talk really, and I'm just banging away on it non-stop repeatedly till you're bored to death with it. Right, and here's Keir Starmer, Sir Keir Starmer. I should call him Sir Keir Starmer, of course. Give him his proper title, the British Prime Minister. And this is where it's also tied into the social media in a sec. I'll just talk about that. He's actually got, again, I hate to say it again, but he's a Virgo, of course, with a Pluto conjunction. We'd love to have his chart and see what his natal data is, but we don't. He's got Ceres on the North Node, and he kept going on in the campaign endlessly about the fact his father was a toolmaker and he came from simple plebeian roots all the way up. And that's another thing about Ceres, of course. It's about the rise of it was a goddess that was worshipped by the plebs as opposed to the patricians in the Roman period. So there's something about the underclass about that, or the working classes of society, and he's got that on the left side of things, on the left-wing side of things. Nigel Farage, on the other side of the politics, on the Reform Party, he has the Ceres on the South Node. So anyway, you can see this is becoming a Ceres talk. Right, well, moving on with the social media, there's been a bit of a spat after the riots began to die down really by Wednesday, I think, and that's when all the people came out who were basically saying they wanted not in my name, basically, and we want to go forward in an inclusive way in society, not in a divisive and violent kind of outrageous way we've been having. So, of course, Elon Musk decided to wade in, as he does. Couldn't help himself. And I don't know who he's been listening to. I think he's been listening to Andrew Tate and these other kind of crazy kind of social influencers. So he's come out with some pretty bizarre comments like civil war was inevitable in Britain. Apparently, that was the one that really got him going. And that Starmer was introducing Soviet Union type policies into Britain by the Law and Order. I mean, the background to this maybe is two things. Musk has obviously got an American agenda too, of course, and he's funding Trump to the tune of $45 million a month. And he's very keen as a libertarian and freedom of expression on X and all social media, that they don't have any restrictions. Basically the British government's bringing a bill called the Online Safety Bill that is going to crack down on what these social media companies can do. This was before we even knew about the riots. It was mostly about grooming and about children being sexually harassed online. But he's obviously, the UK government's going to keep going in that direction and bring in laws to restrict people like Musk, who just wants to say whatever he wants to say on it and get. If he's setting that model, then you can't really blame anybody else for going down that route. He's the guy running the company. So there's that. But the other issue is, I think, just listening to a lot of the people that were social influencers and take it. I mean, another one he came up when he had to take his own post off recently, where he said the British government was setting up detention camps in the Falkland Islands for people that had been involved in the riots. I mean, just total crazy, made up stuff. Apparently it was some right-wing neo-fascist person that had posted it, and he just decided to take it as read. So it's an interesting selection of people he's listening to. Anyway, I thought I'd just put Starmer and Musk up as two charts. Starmer's not timed, he's in the middle. And we've obviously got our friend Musk on the outside. So yeah, I mean, just having a look, we've got, what is it, Saturn? I think the Saturn-Uranus thing going on here between the two of them. So Musk as well. I don't know who's irritating who more. I think they're irritating the hell out of each other, probably. So Saturn is obviously picking up the Uranus in Starmer's chart. If the charts were accurate, we don't know, but it's interesting. They might have I mean, you know, Musk is timed. He's a B-rated chart, so he's got a moon in Virgo. It might be close to Starmer's Sun Pluto conjunction, but we don't know. We don't know that for sure. It could be on his Uranus. Who knows? It could be anywhere in that. It'll be in Virgo though. We know that much. And then what else we got? Yeah, there's sort of Mars-Uranus connection as well between Starmer and obviously Musk and various other things. Actually, let's see. Haven't got anything else in front of me there. No, can't see anything else right now. There's probably other ones. Oh, the Sun. Yeah, Sun, Mercury. But I think the Neptune was the other thing I was going to pick up. Yeah, there's a T-square, isn't there? So there's a T-square with kind of going into Starmer's Uranus. So the Neptune and the Saturn together, that opposition that Musk has in his own chart is interesting to see what's going on there. So yeah, sorry, it's been so simply focused on series, but I just got caught up in it all. I couldn't really stop thinking about it.
I'm really curious. Any of our expert on the asteroid have some idea about this series? I mean, I know Lian would be talking about something, but she's not here today. I really want to hear Lian say. But you know, Anna or Maria, or I know Maria is more traditional, but you know, that's very interesting. One thing I noticed while you're showing all the chart is that I agree, and I find this 1927 chart so interesting. Thank you for sharing that chart, and that is draw my eye, and that is a lot of you know, spot on with the transit. That is very interesting. 1927, worth us to pay more attention. I agree with you. Another thing, especially when you mentioned about the Brexit, pretty interesting is that we are at the moment of the Jupiter-Saturn square. And all these are all together. I mean, a couple of days ago, I chatted with Marcus Patchett, and he mentioned that too. I think it's very interesting about our society development, what we choose to be, especially, yes, that 2020 was the year we left the EU, and that made the, you know, more far right think they are entitled of a lot of things. Well,
Yeah.
I think
it's
that's
quite deep-seated. Yeah. I think the Brexit thing is still got legacy now, even like it's 8 years later, it still seems to have a.
It is, yeah.
But I mean, you can look at this from two ways. I think if you were to one side of it, I think you could say we've had governments in the UK for decades that have gone on about immigration. They maybe haven't done much about it, but they've certainly, you know, castigated immigration, even if they haven't brought in restrictions on it. And the media, of course, a lot of the UK media. I won't name any newspapers not to get us into trouble, but quite a lot of the right-wing press have gone on about, you know, asylum seekers and immigrants. It seems like forever, basically. They've gone on and on and on about it. And that led to things like the Brexit vote, and it led to things like the Reform Party that founded just before the last election and got 4 million votes across the UK. So there are a lot of people support. I'm not saying they're supporting the riots, because I think most decent people would not want to have anything to do with that. But there are people who are. There's a much wider pool of people who are sympathetic to anti-immigration policies. I think that's fair to say at this point in the UK. That's where there's a divide in the identities, I think, on what you believe. Because I think it'll be interesting to see how this plays out for Labour, because many of these areas that had the riots were working class white areas that were traditionally very strong Labour. But I'm not sure they'll be able to keep a lot of those seats for the next election.
Yeah. Okay, Louisa, any comment?
Yeah, this is a little bit off the main subject, but maybe these riots would be spurred by another event, something else. but this was an excuse, and I'm pretty sure it was an excuse.
Yeah.
But
Mhm,
I do
He's
have
wrong.
to comment
mhm,
on the fact that these 3 little girls and all the other girls that were stabbed were listening to Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift is demonized by the patriarchy in the U.S. because she's powerful, she's a woman, she answers to nobody. So this is just a comment for reflection.
Mm.
It might just have been a coincidence because these riots happened, as Mark pointed out, because these are conservative forces, but those conservative forces hate Taylor Swift. So what was going on in the kid's mind? Was he completely crazy? Was this a coincidence? But I couldn't help noticing,
Mhm.
and I'm sorry, Sarah was also a woman.
mhm. Yeah. Anna?
Yes, you mentioned about series. What I like to see first at first glance is the relationship with Ceres with Pluto and Ceres with Jupiter, which because Pluto is the perpetrator of Ceres, is the one that raptured her daughter, but in Jupiter is the father of Persephone or Proserpina, no? So it is like I like to have a glance about the proximity or not the series with Pluto, because sometimes could be an identification with the perpetrator instead of going against him. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't claim to be much of an expert on the mythology. Isn't she the sister of Jupiter, though?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Jupiter was was very
Yeah.
prolific, by the way.
Yeah,
Yes,
so we
yes,
need to add.
yes. Yeah, but and he knew. Jupiter knew about the rapture. But the
Yeah.
problem is that the Ceres and Demeter stop providing providing food for the mankind. So
Mhm.
it created a problem
Right.
for the kingdom of Jupiter. That's why he sent to Mercury or Hermes to talk with Pluto and bring her back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
mean,
Jupiter always knew the story. So Jupiter is the benevi, but he was very the other way around. Yeah, he was famous in the
Mhm.
Olympus. He was famous. He was
Yeah.
famous. Sorry, so, yeah, but a lot of kids, a lot of with mortals,
Yeah.
immortals. Yeah.
Well,
Mhm.
he's another Elon Musk, isn't
Yeah,
a lot of
that's
kids, the big
sort of.
power, the
Yeah,
huge voice. He has opinion on
yeah.
everything. Well, and I would suggest, Mark, do you want to continue for VP? Just quick look about the future.
just quick, because I haven't done much on
Oh,
it, but
oh, should I?
I'll do a
I
quickie.
yeah, do
Gonna
it
take that
quickly.
time.
Yeah, before you start, I think it's yeah, you continue, but quite interesting, and I would like everyone just join, all right? Because we have a very short time, so I would like if you have any idea to say, just raising hand. Mark, I will stop you if you know I will interval to introduce other people's
Sure.
chat. And one thing is very interesting. I mean, last month's discussion, it was quite interesting, and we have no conclusion yet, and it's just beginning. The battle is just beginning. So I don't know. I mean, we still keep it open mind. So, well, Mark, you are on.
Can I just take? How do I take this off? Can I take this other one off?
Yeah, you
Just to
can,
share.
or you can stop and share another
Oh,
one.
here, stop sharing. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I see. Yeah. Okay. Just give us
Well,
a
I
sec.
don't know if you saw it in the American news today,
Yeah.
but there was a big jump in the polls
Mm-hmm.
relative to Kamala and Trump.
Ah,
Comparison of last month to
oh,
this month.
really?
So before, and there was a big jump, and I actually copied the how much it was. She was ahead by 5 points today in the polls today, which means nothing because, as you know, in the U.S. you can win the popular vote and not win
Yeah.
the electoral college.
True. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So I will say before Mark start, if you want to say something, just raise your hand, and then I will try to find the time to let Mark know. All right. So Mark, thank you.
Yeah, this will be quick. Well, we just got we finally got a pick now for Kamala Harris's choice, who's Tim Walz, who's the governor of Minnesota. He's got quite a long political background. I think he was re-elected for 6 times in Minnesota for a rural, pretty rural area. And I guess he fits some of the things they were looking for, which was somebody in a swing state or a toss-up state. He is a gun owner, and he's not like cracked down on that kind of thing. But on the other hand, he had quite a liberal, progressive approach to things in his state. So I think he funded or subsidized the idea of free school meals, which I think Trump seems to think is terrible socialist ideas he's introducing, and also helping funding for free tuition for poorer students at college. He brought in legislation around gun checks and stuff like that, which I guess he's a gun owner, but he's not obviously in favor of people just running around Rambo style. So he's brought in all that, and he's kind of gained a kind of name for himself, really, because it seems to be based on just the fact that basically he was the first one to publicly say what I think a lot of people maybe thought to themselves, which is that Trump was weird. And this statement he made about Trump seemed to just basically catch on and kind of raised his profile quite a lot. He also did quite a lot of things with him, was releasing podcasts and stuff about himself and his family, and he's quite a family-centric kind of guy. And I think that also impressed Harris as well. So here we go. We've got a strongly Aries chart, Sun and Jupiter in Aries. We've not got a time for him, so we can't really get too carried away with houses or any of that stuff, really. So we'll just have to.
Louisa?
Yeah, first of all, I'm looking at him and looking at the noon chart, and I do think he has a Cancer rising because he has a very round period.
Go on.
And so do you, Mark. And what I heard, I was listening to the news today, and one thing they say, it's the way he speaks. He doesn't speak like a politician, he speaks like a teacher. And that ties in the fact that he's saying things as they are. He's explaining things. And they consider, like Mark said, he's just saying what people are thinking without all the politics and the correctness. And I think that's a big strength.
Yeah.
And look at his Mercury. That's it.
Should have said, yeah, the teaching's important in his background, and so is and he's also to balance the fact he's got. I think he was in the National Guard for many decades. For 24 years, he was in the National Guard. So he has a sort of that kind of side of things. So they can't really present him as a complete softie, basically. To counter J.D. Vance's claim, having been in the Marines and all the rest of it. So anyway, I haven't given his chart an awful lot of study of. I'm quite honest with you. I'm not going to pretend. I have another guy with series on the nose, but there you go. That's not really relevant. If we maybe get to the chart with Harris, because let's face it, there's been an awful lot of speculation, a lot of interest in the choice of VP, but a lot of people say ultimately that VP nominees don't make much difference to the actual final result, no matter what all the initial flurry. But this might be a different election. Who knows? Because it's he's in an area that those 3 states, I think Minnesota, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, are. Did I say he was from? I got the wrong state. I think I said he was from Minnesota. Did I say that? I don't remember what I said there.
Huh?
I can't remember what state I said he was in. Get my notes. Can't find it. Sorry. Sorry. But anyway, so those 3 states are pretty crucial to trying to win, and Pennsylvania particularly seems to be on a knife edge. So if you can help to the demographics of where he's coming from are a lot closer to those voters, and maybe Harris coming from California, obviously, where it's just seen as a very progressive, liberal, left-wing thing, which might not be seen as positive by some, cautious, moderate voters. Anybody else got any reflections on his chart?
Mark, do you have the chart, Tim Walz chart with the U.S. chart together?
Didn't have time for that, I'm afraid.
Okay.
No.
Okay. One few things very interesting is that because I agree with you. Usually, we don't think the VP has much to do during the election. But if Trump and Kamala Harris are both all kind of a bulldog going to fight things, we need some sweet spot. And I do think Tim Walz has that power, although he look a little bit like a boring or something. I mean, but it's quite interesting because if you look the his chart with the Sibley chart, he has that his north node is the 6th degree of Cancer, is right on U.S., Jupiter, and the Venus. So that's what I call the sweet spot to kind of make people think, okay, easy rather than very intense. Louisa.
Yeah, I have always lots of things to say.
Of course.
You remember Leanne last time?
Yeah.
Saying, and we all agreed that she didn't see any of the candidates. Then it was Biden and Trump being present on Inauguration Day. So assuming that something would happen to Trump, and then we had the shooting or fake shooting or whatever, and that Biden was out. In that sense, the vice president, if something happens to Trump, and I don't know what, but remember this Mars-Jupiter conjunction is active on his chart, and it's going to happen now and during the course of the month of August. Then the vice president, in his case, gains a huge importance because he immediately becomes the main guy.
You are worrying me now. Because if you look at J.D. Vance's chart,
This is what you say, the heartbeat away from the presidency, the vice president. Yeah, so we'll do the I'll just put
go on.
two charts together. This is obviously
sure.
So the thing a lot of people have obviously picked up is I've got Kamala Harris in the middle there. Obviously, she's timed. So his Jupiter obviously picking up her moon. So there's clearly a good connection between the two of them. His synastry seems quite good in that respect. There's also other stuff as well. The nodal axis. I won't say anything else about. I won't use the word series again tonight because I think I've done enough of that. Pluto on Uranus. Well, I guess that's just more longer term stuff. The Saturns are kind of connected. They're not that far apart. Anybody see anything else? I haven't really picked up much on it. I suppose he's got. Yeah, of course, he's got Mars on her MC.
I think they were born very similar. They're born same year, so the outer planet we really couldn't work out. We really couldn't work out a lot of things. But quite interesting that Jupiter on her moon, is that right? Look quite weird.
Yeah, her moon's 27 Aries.
Yeah. Oh yes, Jupiter is on her moon. That is very interesting. That is a very interesting spot to kind of spread out or exaggerate it, or maybe help her to advertising things. So it's kind of a good help in my view. But I don't know how Maria or Anna or even Nando would like something else to say.
On the north nodes and the ascendants. I think the karmic connection for the karmic astrologers. Usually they say sun, moon, ascendant with each other's north node or south node. In this case, is the Kamala's ascendant with his north node. Very tight conjunction, and the south node is 6 Capricorn with Ceres, as they said, but it's also in conjunction with his Ceres, and so there is like a double effect, right? Am I right seeing that?
No.
On the 7th house, Sagittarius,
Yeah, but
South Node and
No.
Sirius, and South Node Sirius, inner chart, outer chart.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, because they were born very close.
Yeah,
in
really
this-
close. Yeah.
in the same year. So their souls came in the
Months
same
Yeah, they've got a
space
series. They've got a series conjunction. Yeah,
Yeah.
They're 6 months apart.
I didn't want to say series again, but there you go.
Yeah.
I get away
Yeah,
from it tonight.
and I think this Ceres and mundane astrology work more or less like this. Worry about food for people. That basic. How they call like the basic, not the filet mignon, but the basic base rice and beans or something. The basic. In Brazil, we say cesta básica. That is the basic.
Needs.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think the series has a lot to do with this. Because she was like a surrogated mother, or like taking care of us. So I've seen in charts that some like babysitters that has a strong influence on children. It has Sirius in
Yeah.
their chart, in the children's chart. I saw someone with Ceres
Yeah.
in the 4th house, and he was raised by the babysitter, not by the mother.
Mm.
So, okay.
Yeah.
That's it.
Anna.
No, what I observe is that the son of Kamala is an addition of the Saturn of Timbals.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it connects their leadership skills and of course, naturally, the chart of Kamala, she has the addition of the sun with her midheaven, but that's with Saturn of Pulse as well. So it creates a very powerful link to the solar leadership with the one that is the authority in his field.
Sorry, what was that intention again, Anna? I didn't catch that.
The son of Kamala Harris is
Right.
the antition of
Right.
Saturn of Pulse.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh, so they kind of work as a pair or something. That's quite interesting. Hello, Grace.
I'm thinking about, you can see Kamala Mercury square team moon. So
Yeah.
and in the side the Mercury eternal Saturn. So maybe they can help other, but still maybe he will not really want to do something what she said.
Well, but I'm sorry, I have to say, because team is the moon chart, so the moon we are not 100% sure would be his exact moon position, Grace, because we don't know about his birth time. So this moon 3-degree Aquarius, we are not 100% sure. Could be there or could be around, but could be not there.
Capricorn. Could be
Yeah,
Capricorn.
Maria. Yeah, could be Capricorn. Maria.
Yes, I was thinking that next week we'll have they'll be, well, they're always in the news, but we'll have something to say about this, because we'll have Mars and Jupiter conjunct the 16th degrees of Gemini, with Regal, the star, the fixed star, and it hits both charts, and also squaring Saturn, and a few days later Venus is also going to take part of that T-square. So it hits exactly his Chiron and her Pluto Venus. So we'll see what that is about. I imagine that it has to do with her campaign regarding women and their right to abortion and that sort of thing, because Venus rules her 5th house,
Thank
We'll
you.
see if that's
Thank
in the
you,
news.
Maria. Mark, do you want to move on to the next pair?
If we have to. Okay,
Okay.
Don. No, I shouldn't say that. Sorry, it's a bit biased. Right, so bear with me. Mr. Class, here I get this one.
Yep, that's the one.
Yeah.
Is it the whole chart up or just a bit of it? Let me just try and run the whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so Mr. J.D. Vance, who was certainly, I think he was picked very much at the time when Trump thought he was up against Biden before Biden had withdrawn from the contest. I think he just thought he was going to just sail on to the election where he was so ahead in the polls. It looked like he didn't have much competition. So he just picked someone who would appeal to the MAGA Make America Great Again base, rather than trying to pick someone like obviously Harris has done, who would try and appeal across, to the wider community. So he's already managed to make a bit of a name for himself in a very short time period as a VP. In fact, he's already polling, I think, the most unpopular vice presidential nominee in American history at this point. Cat owners everywhere have got a grudge against him, I think, after he had to give these speeches about basically kind of implying that people that don't have children are kind of like should have less rights, and that basically, yes, people opposing him were like these sad cat ladies, who were out there. So it's created a whole meme of jokes about him and all the rest of it. But to go back to the basics, he's basically came from I suppose what we would call a sort of working class background in Middletown, Ohio, and yeah, he went on to the Marines. Now, it seems like though he didn't actually do any military service in terms of like fighting or anything like that. He immediately got himself posted as a non-combative role, including 6 months in public affairs in Iraq, and then he went on to so basically it was quite mercurial what he was doing. It wasn't really the more martial side of things. Then he got himself after having been a veteran. He obviously got access to university education after that, free, I think, because of that, or subsidized. I think they'd have in America. So he went to Ohio State University, then on to Yale Law School. And there's no doubt he's a smart guy in terms of how he operates. And then he made a name for himself really when he brought out this book, this memoir or book, which was later featured as a film on Netflix called Hillbilly Elegy, which kind of goes on about the kind of he was actually seen originally as somebody who gave insight into the kind of the Make America Great insight, extreme people, but he was kind of presented at that time as the more moderate type wing of the party. I don't know, somewhere along the line that's been thrown out the window, I think, because he'd fallen out with Trump, and what has he called Trump again? He'd called him forget what he called him, but he called him a dictator, or I forget. He gave some insult to him anyway.
Mm-hmm.
He was an authoritarian or something like that, and he didn't really approve of him. But clearly, since then, he's done a complete turnaround and makeover to try and make up to Trump, and of course, this is where he's got to. So his chart is interesting. Obviously, strongly Leo with Sun. If you use quadrants, is in the 12th or in the first in whole sign. But Venus on the ascendant there, and quite a strong Mercury in Virgo, I suppose you would say as well in the first house. I'm sorry to keep saying it. You might have to stop me speaking about this, but
one thing is very interesting. In one way, I don't know how dare he going to offend the cat lady, but in another way, he is inevitable to going to offend the cat lady. Have you looked at Venus, 23 degree Leo? That's the cat lady, all right? Big cat. And then square Mars. Square Mars. 22 degree, exact square Mars, and the opposite series again. Opposite series.
Well, here we've got an interesting, we've got sort of almost Easter going on here. So we've got with the MC involved. So there's this whole Mars
we
on the
don't
IC,
know
which
why.
is interesting. Mars on the IC, because he did sort of kind of try and represent himself as representing the kind of the poorer, left behind Americans who hadn't benefited from the Obama years and the basically the working class, kind of like poorer people and all the rest of it. How much that was that was certainly his origins. How much he represents them now, I don't know, but he certainly seems to represent a very a smaller demographic than maybe than you might have thought Trump might have chosen. And what's interesting is, well, we're looking at the two charts, is that this relationship doesn't seem to be going swimmingly well between the two. I mean, even at the they said even at the Republican National Convention, Trump wasn't too pleased about the speech that Vance gave, because it sounded more like a presidential speech rather than a low key.
My point is he might become one.
Yeah, he could
well,
be, to be honest.
I think he could, and that's I'm going to say why later.
Okay, please go on.
This is just to depress everybody here.
Yeah.
Sorry. Oops,
Yeah.
what have I done? Have I not put the chart up? Oh yeah.
All right.
No.
While Mark chooses his chart, Anna, you want to say anything?
I'm trying to find the chart with Trump.
Yeah.
Oh no, I can't. I thought I've put it up and I haven't. I'm messed up. Well, basically,
That's right.
the big sinistry issue going on is the Mars. To his chart, I think he's got his where's his Mars? It's hitting Trump's chart.
Wait a minute, I have here. Give me the.
I thought I'd put it up.
Yeah, don't worry, Mark. I have chart.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think where it's
could
Trump's Mars. It's hitting.
Yeah. Could you stop sharing? Could you stop sharing?
Sure.
Yeah. So I can put chat on and you can continue talk. Yeah.
Yes, I've stopped sharing.
Yeah. Thank you. All right. Here is the chart. The Donald Trump chart is in inner, and the JD Vance chart is the outer. So you're talking about what?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So who's on the inner wheel? You've got Trump on the inner wheel, yeah.
Yeah, I have Trump in the inner wheel.
I've got a different. I think there's a disagreement on the location for.
Okay.
It's 27.
Okay, that's all right. That's all right.
It's even closer to the Mars.
Okay.
Which is interesting because, and already and there was this amazing press conference Trump just gave last week, where and after the criticisms of Vance that have been coming up, he said, "What did he think of it, his VP?" And rather than stepping up and saying, "Oh, I think he's wonderful, I think he's fantastic," Trump said something like, "Well, vice presidents are usually not a big part in." He pretty much just said he wasn't very important, basically, which is not exactly what you would expect someone to say about their own choice of a vice president. But what is interesting is that both of these people, I mean, both Trump, but also, I'm afraid to say, Mr. Vance, have close connections to another chart, which I think is maybe more relevant to the presidential election than just the general Sibley chart, which is the POTUS chart, the presidential chart for the inauguration of George Washington in 1789. We've got a fairly accurate time for that one. Well, much more accurate than the U.S. chart, where we argue about the ascendants all the time. But that one, using the time Nicholas Campion used, it kind of gives an ascendant about 29 Leo.
Oh,
which maybe explains the mystery of why Mr. Trump somehow seems to defeat all attempts to bring him down the Teflon Trump. But also JD Vance has his ascendant very close to the presidential degree, and his MC close to the presidential degree. Of course, he's going to be a vice president, so maybe that's what explains it. Kamala Harris also has her moon trine the presidential. Sorry, I haven't got that chart up here, but the presidential chart ascendant.
Okay.
She's got her. And it's interesting in the Aries Ingress this year, which was Scorpio rising, so that's used for the whole year. Vance has his ascendant on the MC degree of the Aries Ingress chart for this year, which is very strong. Well, but we know he's prominent anyway, so he's he's come to the fore. So maybe hopefully that's all that's telling us.
Mark, it will be interesting next time you show us that, the presidential chart will be very interesting.
Chart, it should be used more. It's much more.
Yeah.
It's a good chart, and it's it gives you an idea of what people's chances are for the presidency, I think, in some ways.
Yeah. Okay. Anna, you have anything to say or?
Yes. I was thinking that when Pluto comes back to the last degree of Capricorn, it will be in the cusp of the 6th house of Vance, squaring his natal Pluto, which is the ruler of the 4th house.
Here.
Right.
Yeah, I saw the other one that says 29. But
Oh, sorry about that.
yeah, there was
so
another one with 29.
26 degrees, is it? Okay. Oh, maybe
There
we
was
use
a
a
chart
different
that says 29 Capricorn in the sixth
Okay,
house,
I think
but whatever is
yeah.
Pluto is squaring his natal Pluto, could be maybe a health problem or something. Being Pluto the ruler of the four, it could be at home, or maybe he cannot be on the spot.
Sure. Okay, I think we still have a few months to see. You know, that would be quite a lot of interesting to see. Well, before we finish, and if you still have time, I mean, I will let Grace prepare a few things to let us know about what's happening in China. It's very interesting. And then, if we still have time, just 5 minutes, quick look Bangladesh to make Nando happy. So let me. I'm joking. I know if we don't look at Nando, is still happy with us. Let me make Grace host, the co-host. So Grace, you can share your presentation.
Rod, I have another commitment, so I'm saying
Okay.
goodbye and
Thank you,
so
Maria.
much.
Thank you for your
Bye.
amazing
See you next
presentation.
month.
See you next month.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
So Grace, you can click share.
How about I send to you now?
Oh, don't worry.
Because I don't know I didn't find it.
You couldn't find it. All right. Okay. Let me check if I have it. All right. Let me check if I have it.
But I have already changed. I have already changed it.
Yeah, I know you have already changed everything. Okay.
So I will send to you by message.
All right. Let's switch.
Okay.
Let's change the program. Let me go to the Bangladesh first while I'm waiting for Grace's email. All right. So, well, I have a quick check, but also, I mean, I think it's very interesting. There are two countries also at the same time is under our spotlight. One is Bangladesh. I choose this chart is the 17th of April, 1971. This one, according to this famous book, you always have to go back and check what the date he choose. He has three. Vickers Campion give us three different times. But the first time was the kind of a revolution begin, also protest things. This one was the government established in Delhi, but exile government. So I say must be this chart because another chart the government already formed. So I choose this chart. Not only the descendant is at 1 degree Aquarius, so we just like, hey, do I need to say anything? I mean, I just want 1 minute about Bangladesh to make Nando's happy. So I choose this chart. I'm joking. So yes, we have the transiting Pluto on the angle. And I think this Mercury is retrograde to the NC. This is student, and this very interesting because student protest was calmed down a bit, and then it started again, and then again these Jupiter conjunct. I use the solar eclipse chart because pretty interesting. Jupiter nearly conjunct Uranus is on their Saturn. It's right on their Saturn. Well, that is something worth us to see. To be honest, this at this moment, and we have I think everything around. I think around this area. So that would be interesting to have another look about the Bangladesh's the development. But I think this transiting Uranus is on the Saturn, on the authority that really give a hit. And the analysis is about this Pluto, right on the descendant. To be honest, the Pluto right on this on the angle is about the reform. It's about the reform of a lot of things, like Iceland when they have a Pluto cross their ascendant. The whole economy, whole country's view of a banking system need to be reformed. According to this solar eclipse chart, we have a Mercury right on Bangladesh is here. This is very interesting. Mercury. This is the solar eclipse chart. Mercury is on IC. Mercury is on IC. Retrograde Mercury on IC. So that's what I want to share. But another thing is about Thailand. Well, Thailand just 2 days ago dissolved their opposition party just because of their, they feel like they offended their monarchy. And we can see the Saturn again is playing. No one look, Jupiter is on the ascendant, square the Saturn on the MC, and that is kind of on the angular point. So this is the two things I would like to share. If at any comment, or Nando, you want to talk about Bangladesh?
If anybody else would like to comment that, because I chose a different national chart. I chose
I can code that chart out. Don't worry, I have it in my profile. Which chart do you choose?
Bangladesh 3.
Okay, Bangladesh 3. Okay, I have it. Just give me 1 minute, all right?
I don't know if I could, share the screen.
Oh yeah, you can. You can if you like. Yeah.
Yes.
Perfect. Yeah. Give me 1 second. Yeah. Give me 1 second.
Yeah.
Let me.
I prepare something very long, like but I will not use all the charts because of our constraint chart. But I did something more professional to say, the Worldscope deserves more professional.
You only have 5 minutes. Sorry.
No, okay. I will fly. Let me see.
Here we are. I make you co-host.
Okay, but because it actually, let me see. Share the screen here. We go maybe this one here.
We haven't seen your thingy.
I think it's going through now. Let me see.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So I just want to show, I'll go very quickly because actually the protest began in early June, I think June 5th. So it's very interesting to see the charts would come first, And so we saw on the newspaper, people dead and police officers. And so I chose this chart 23 that gives. I just chose this one because I asked the question at the Astrological Association group in Facebook, and there was a lady from Bangladesh, and she said, "Oh, Bangladesh is Sagittarius sun." So I did not do any research, but if I would do in depth, I would try everything that I did in the 3 charts: number 1, number 3, number 3. So I just want to point, Liza, as you have mentioned Mercury, to see how Mercury is important in all the charts. Here it shows, Mercury, I like a stellium, sun stellium in Sagittarius, and 6th house, 7th house is angular sun, and you see Mercury 15, Jupiter. It shows really clearly, the position and the importance of the students, college students, Jupiter, Mercury, and the things that will happen in the streets. Also, the moon in Sagittarius, so there is a lot of. And here we have the Leo new moon was August, when the prime minister, she flew, she left the country to show that the new moon happened in the third house. Here we have this conjunction coming. We're going to come Mars coming to a conjunction with Jupiter. And the 12th house, it shows Jupiter is the ruler of one of the traditional ruler of the MC, going into exile. And this position, Mars Jupiter ascendant, it shows that her life was really in danger if they got hands on her. So let me see here. Here we have the relationship, the position. It seems that a lot of death that happens was not by the National Guard force. They were, because some of them were, this is her house, little house, right? In the suburbs, people storming, and she flew by the helicopter. That's something very Hollywood. And the Eris ingress, show with a lot of, Saturn and Venus close to the national MC. I think we could say everything that happened. And Mars, the national chart, I think Mars, the inner Bangladesh 3 is a midpoint to Neptune and Saturn. I think Neptune is linked to corruption and fraud and all the stuff. And this is now Venus and Saturn in the 10th house is, I think it's very hardship for the government. Then we have the Cancer solstice happening again. We have again Venus and Mercury. Mercury it's all over the place. So this importance being as I chose this chart, being the ruler of the ascendant. So is very prominent in many charts. Here we have the solar eclipse of April. We can see again, Mars and Saturn's in the 10th house. We see also this in the 11th house of the parliament, or whatever we want to call. And it was interesting to see that sometimes when we see Mercury close to new moon eclipses, we don't think much of Mercury as being something important, but it really shows here, maybe because of the Senate. I don't know if it's because of this, but also everything has to do with 5th house, 3rd house, and Mercury. Then we have the lunar return. For the lunar return, we have, you see, interesting that I chose for this, for the previous, you see the moon in lunar return is conjunction the Bangladesh moon, exact conjunction. One of the things here, Mars again, midpoint, Saturn, and in this case we have in the 12th house the conjunction of Mars and Uranus and Taurus, as we saw before. I'm just going through what I think is major, and what I think is interesting that Muhammad Yunus, the Nobel Prize, he is on his Uranus return, and he's coming back to his country. Look at here, he has Venus, Sun, Chiron, Mars in Cancer. So he is the mother and the father of the country. He's coming to help this transition. Let's see what's going to happen, because we have transiting coming here. Pluto, 0 degree retrograde opposition. He's Mercury, 1 degree, and then Pluto. So isn't that funny? A funny thing to see that he's how to say that, his generation got to see Pluto opposition natal Pluto. It's very hard if nowadays for someone who was born with Pluto in Capricorn, Sagittarius, because it's half of the time that Pluto takes to go around. But then we can see a lot of things. It's a noon moon, right? It's a noon chart, no, untimed chart. But even if it's on time, we can see his for noon times chart, 11 areas his moon. So if the moon goes 14 degrees maximum, as a fast moon goes through Aries, 7 degrees before noontime, midnight, and 7 degrees, I think his moon will be Aries. Any time of the day he might have been born. So and this is the lunar return for his returning home. Mars conjunctions Uranus, the Sun conjunction Mars. So Venus conjunction Pluto. So he's in this transition, South Node with North Node, North Node with possible one of the moons. It depends on the time of the day he was born. This fast coming back home, it might has to do with his natal Uranus in Taurus, either in his natal fourth house or midheaven, because he has to leave whatever he was doing in exile and come back. So this fast moving, we might, he might have the Aquarius ascendant. Let's see, and she flew also. So this is Mercury young students, the Generation Z, showing at one of Sabrina's associate professor say young people with their peers and shot kill fuel the small job prospect, who are tired of corruption and repression. This might very well be first successful Generation Z-led revolution. So we are seeing, all this generation come into politics. They might want to, choose him to be, himself. There is a lot of political parties there to show candidates, but probably the students will press for him to be the prime minister. And Human Rights Watch investigated, but this is a history fact. The workers in the farms, so this is something else to say, because I have to study a little bit of.
Thank you, Nando.
But just to see, the factory workers when
Sorry.
Yeah, because the owners of the factories, they have to to get profits, and that's what happens. We don't take care of poor children in our countries.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Nando. It's really impressive, and I'm really sorry I didn't give you enough time to do the beautiful presentation.
No problem.
I'm really sorry, but you were amazing. This is amazing presentation. Well, I think it's a bit late, but I still want to give Grace 5 minutes. All right. Grace also want to share her view. She just come back from China, and her experience was kind of she really want to share with us. So, Grace, could you just give us a quick talk about
Yes.
your experience, and we will jump to the chart directly, should we?
We can jump to the third page. I will talk
In this
about
one, okay, yes.
the three pictures.
This one, right?
Yes. Thank you. There are three pictures. We can see the panda playing. Panda are playing cards. So this is what I see and what I heard. One of my friends said, okay, in this moment in China, the government officer or the servant officers are very relaxed and feel they don't want to do any job, any work. They just want to, how to say it? It's more like they're afraid doing more, and then maybe more mistakes, and then maybe losing more. And then they focus on something else like play poker.
Oh.
Once my friend said, okay, he went to the government office, and the officer has really don't want to do something for him, and he think, okay, I will invite them for dinner. but they said no, better play poker.
Okay, basically, even the businessmen want to invite a civil servant, kind of a corruption,
yeah.
want to invite them for dinner. They say no, but we want to play poker.
Yeah, it's very strange, really. It sounds very strange. But what happened this moment in China? And the second picture, the traffic. In this moment in China, electric cars, all they call it new energy cars. It's more than 85% on the road. I see. Really, it's a lot of unknown mark or unknown brand, but still the product electric car. So, and the third is really the social media or social software. It's really the people use it anywhere. Most of young people, and the mobile payment have almost replaced the cash transition. So when I landed in China, in Shanghai, because in my WeChat, I don't have any money in my WeChat, so I have to use cash. But the people said, no, we have already long time don't use it, so you have to pay by mobile phone. And then I have to call my family, my brother and my sister to make the payment for me.
I agree. Even for me, 5 years ago when I visit China, if you get cash out, people say, you are a foreigner, because no one use cash in China anymore. Everything is online payment, mobile payment, and even Grace. Come on, you don't have anything on your mobile payment? I don't believe you.
Because I use the German SIM card,
Okay, I see.
So it's different.
Okay. So,
okay.
You're going to share the chart with us, right?
Yes. The first chart is Saturn in Pisces, and Saturn in Pisces conjunct Mercury. So we can see Saturn is a government of the civil sentence officers, and also Saturn is a rule, is old people. So when Saturn in Pisces, these people, the civil servant officers, become to relax, and they refuse, they worry about all, they don't know what will happen, what is coming. And in the other hand, in China government is reduce pension and delay retirement age. In this moment, before it's for women is 50 years old retired, and men is 55. But now maybe here in this moment, maybe retirement age is 65. Of course, 65 in Germany it's normally, but in China, the people have to work 10 years longer, and maybe they get a very nice money after retire. So this also Saturn in Pisces. What happened when Saturn in Pisces?
Okay,
the young people.
Yeah. Go on.
The young people also afraid of marriage, or maybe they refuse marriage.
Yeah. Have you looked at Uranus? Yeah. This one.
Next, this is Pluto in Aquarius, conjunct the moon, the natal moon, and transit Venus square the natal moon. So we can see on China's social media, how to say that the vice
Whistleblower.
whistleblower appeared. They use the real name report. How to say it? How to explain is the people use the ID card and make a record and say something about, okay, I will report somebody do something wrong, something like so. And and I heard something about my how to say it? Yeah, of course, somebody I knew. It's really something happened like 5 years ago, and in this moment he was reported by the other people, and then he is in jail.
I heard it's quite unsurreal, especially for the Western country. We were just like, what happened there? Okay. This kind of whistleblower things, it become a trend. It's not just one case.
Yes.
It's nearly a lot of people doing that in every different organization in China, even in government, even some judge in the court. They record on the social media with their ID card and say, I will report my boss who is corruption and this and that. Or I heard about one spicy things is a lady say, well, I report myself have a sex with a 9 men. Like, what? And it's just become a trend, and you don't know what is true, what is wrong. What is the truth, and what is. But also, they are testing the justice system. It's quite interesting, and also, yes, go on.
Okay, nice.
Should I go next one? Oh,
Yes.
Let's go next one.
Yes,
Okay. Yep. Here we are.
Pluto insert and conjunct moon. Again, real name report. So this part shows.
Okay.
And yes, again, and the people are also under control by internet. You can see
Yes.
Pluto conjunct the moon. The moon is the people. So and I heard about something. In this moment in China, the people have to use the real name, use the real ID card number, and to request internet name or internet ID.
Yes.
And
Yes. So yes, indeed, they say. So from now on, people in China, if you want to go to use internet, you have to apply an ID, and you will have a number. Use this number and your ID to connect to internet. So the government will know everything you say, everything you do. I mean, well, it's not surprise us, to be honest. It's not surprise us. But we have to see this kind of a social experience in China. Also, give us an image. They start in the conjunction about the idea of the, make everyone showing their real name on internet, and the social, what is it called, social credit in China, right? Kind of they give you a point if you have if you kind of give a if you kind of have a traffic bill or something, then you lost point. You couldn't get train ticket or you couldn't get airplane ticket. They are really doing it now. So I mean, this is not false information. They start to give you a ID number for you to connect to internet. Yeah, I mean everything. Today we have the longest Worldscope. I have to say thanks everyone. You still sitting there and awake, and especially for Grace. Her title is before us. She's still hanging there. Thank you, Grace.
1 hour before. Thank you, Rose. Thank you, everyone.
And thank you, Luisa. Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Nando and Mark. Your beautiful presentation. And thanks, Maria. And thank you, Luisa. Always been here to support us. And we miss Lian and Liz. Hope to see everyone next month. And I'll promise next month, 1.5 hours. Ciao. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Grace, for the first
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
presentation.
Thank you, Louis.